All right, welcome back, everybody, for some more Members First content. Today, I have for you my top 10 and 10 that will be hitting for you members today on Thursday, where you get a sneak peek 24 hours before it's going to drop for everybody else tomorrow around 6 p.m. So, hopefully, you appreciate this little early look at what I consider this week's hot books, these top books based off of the number of sales, some price increases, etc. This is just stuff that interests me, and I've been tracking, as the week has gone on. So again, hopefully you find this helpful and get a look at my top 10 before everybody else's top 10 starts hitting your radars. So with that all said, hopefully you're still enjoying the channel and everything else I've got going on here. And if you want to see what books I got for you, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, so as I mentioned there in the opening, this is a members first only content. And with that, we are going to get into our top 10 in 10. And with that, let me get the clock started and we get this thing rolling because I'm going to try to run this down in 10 minutes or less. And here we are off. All right, as we've been doing the last few weeks, we're going to start off with a follow-up. This is a follow-up to my Wednesday watch list. These were things I was looking into ahead of this Wednesday's release date to see, how these books would perform. And the first couple books I got for you are some of the higher ratio incentive variants that actually have sold pretty well since I was looking at them. Starting off with that Sonic book. This is that 1 in 50 for that one shot for the 5th anniversary for Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is a retailer incentive, again, from IDW. 1 in 50, pretty high ratio, higher than what they normally do. But looking at it, when we were checking it out on Wednesday, there were a couple of sales that were pre-sales that were in that kind of right around ratio, $50 to $55 sales. But since Wednesday's release, we have a few other sales where this thing has actually moved for $130 and over. Granted, there's one in there too that was maybe about $55, right around ratio, but there were still a couple of sales, more than double ratio, hitting that like $130 mark for this incentive. So that is definitely interesting. I did not see this. I didn't get to go to the shop to see if I could find one, so I did not get to check this. But I didn't think any of the shops that I would go to would have ordered enough to qualify for this anyway. So this would have been an online-only purchase for me. But as I said, I didn't get it. It's pretty cool, but I'm not doing 130. Ratio is even too much for me. This is like $30 maybe. 25, $30 is where I'd be at. But that said, we'll see where this one goes, as the, weeks go on. Because don't forget, just because you get this FOMO hit right, where it's only Thursday after all, these things could drop by the time the weekend hits as far as more copies hitting, etc. So let's see how the rest of these do as well, including this 1 in 100 for Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, number 6. So this book 6, pretty cool, homage cover here with Joker, playing the role of Robin. 1 in 100. Before Wednesday, there were some pre-sales hitting, well over 100 and one up to $250. Some of those pre-sales, granted, those from earlier in March, those were a couple of weeks ago. So let's see what happened since Tuesday when this actually released. So since release, a few copies hit under ratio at about $70, $65, $75. But the most recent sales spiked again up to $163. So we'll see where this goes. As I mentioned, we got to see what happens when they actually hit the market. The first few that hit the market sold for under that ratio of 1 in 100, but then that last one is above it. The current asks are closer to that 160, 150 kind of range, so we'll see if any more move at that price as we move forward. Moving to our next book, another 1 in 100 I talked about, and I even mentioned this one as a potential ghost, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case because there are multiple copies up right now for this book. I want to say at least 3 or 4. Well, we'll get to that. This is a 1 in 100 for Codename Ric Flair. This is that metal cover, incentive variant. There's also a 1 in 1,000 that's signed, but the 1 in 100 is the metal cover. Going into things this week, it's sold for about ratio one time and $100 on the 4th, and then it sold again for $200 on the 6th. So since it's released this week, and that 4th was actually before release, so right around release and after, it's hit ratio and above, but only 2 sales so far. That said, there are a few in the market, and here they are. There's 3. I'm sorry, not 4. There were 3 in the market. Buy it now for $200. Buy it now for or best offer with $200, and then there's one at auction that's only $4 right now, but it still has a whole week left, so we don't know where that one's going to end. So there are copies. So if we were doing this week, this would not hit the Ghost because we have 3 copies, but we'll see what happens as the weeks go on. Just definitely still something to keep a lookout for. I like the cover. I think it's kind of cool, but once again, not paying ratio for this. It's just too much. Too much to me, but you make the call for yourself. Follow-up, sort of. Not really a follow-up in the sense that we're following up on this week's stuff, but this is going back to last week. Told you to watch this one last week. I've been looking at this. I have one of these. I pre-ordered it. And this is that 1 in 10 for Dungeons & Dragons, the Saturday morning adventures. I really enjoyed this movie. The actual movie, not related to the cartoon, though the cartoon characters do make a cameo in the movie. The movie I thought was really fun, and I suggest everybody go check it out. But I might be biased. I do like D&D stuff. But that said, this book has been selling pretty well over the last week or so. You can see this is a 1 in 10 incentive. I told you keep an eye on it. There were some sales around $15, even hitting 20. More recently, this is starting to hit $40. $40. Best offer on $50, and one sold for $70 for this 1 in 10. So the price on this seems to be going up, and I don't know how many of these might be out there. But happy, I got one. That's all I need. But you guys keep a lookout for this book too. Now, we're going to get into some things that have been moving as far as volume goes for this week. And we're going to start in with the recent news we talked about on Tax Show last night, that Legendary has optioned Street Fighter. Could be a movie, could be TV series, could be multiple things. We don't know. All I know is Legendary is a legit production company. Sure, they option a lot of stuff. I still think this might be something that comes to fruition. And with that, there have been more than 50 sales this past week following that news. And with that, copies sold are ranging from anywhere from like $8 all the way up to $100 raw for this regular edition. Granted, most of the sales are closer to that, like, $15. Most of them in that $15 to $20 kind of range, but that's the spread, $8 to $100. And there's a foil version for this as well. And again, this is from 1994, 1993, 94. This is the Malibu Street Fighter #1. So this book has, again, been selling 50 plus copies this week. Another book that's been selling was based off of James Gunn tweeting this picture. So 80 plus sales over the last week for the Terrifics #1. There's a second print that looks basically the same, except the trade dress box versus universe isn't black. It's red. It's really the only way to quickly tell that that's the second print. But copies of this, again, 80 plus sales over the last week. And those sales ranging anywhere, mostly in the $10 to $20 kind of range. Some low, some high. I mean, they're all over the place. There's lots with the first and second print. But this is just ballpark, give you a sense of what this thing is kind of selling for. Another bit of news that's been driving a book was Meet the Skrulls. We got confirmation that Emilia Clarke's character is going to be Gaia. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like a G or apostrophe I-A-H. However you pronounce that in Skrull language, she's going to be playing that character that first appeared here in Meet the Skrulls #1. I don't think Secret Invasion is really going to follow this story completely, but who knows? But the character connection is here. 100 plus sales have driven this book to start moving once again. Again, this one's come around before. This has been on the spec cycle a few times. So it's back up there again, selling for about $15 up to 30. That's really the range of the sales over that 100. With this book, this one, this is the #1. There's also multiple variants of this as well. There's a 1 in 10. There's the scroll photo cover, but the 1 in 50 is another one to keep an eye on because this is the tough one to find and the highest ratio for this book. And this thing, again, has sold just this week. The news brought some copies to market. Maybe they were sitting there for a while, but these all sold within the last week. 9.6 selling for $200, raw copy selling for $220, and then some 9.8 selling for $300, and best offer on $500. So this thing has started to move once again based off of this news. Again, not an easy book to find to begin with, and just one you might want to keep an eye out for when you're out there. We got trailers this week too. Haven't really seen the effects of the trailers on Into the Spider-Verse stuff so much, but I did notice that the Blue Beetle trailer did start moving Infinite Crisis #5 again. Multiple covers on this book, second print as well. All of the covers total are selling over 120 plus sales. I didn't want to differentiate just this cover over the others. So of all of the Infinite Crisis #5s, there's at least 120 sales for all of them over the last week or so. And the trailer just dropped, Monday? So that's where the bulk of it has come from, since Monday. But over the last week, that's what we got. This thing's still selling $40 to $55 raw for this particular cover, the Jim Lee cover. Probably the best, my favorite. And yes, this is Jamie Reyes as Blue Beetle. Jaime Reyes. I've been saying his name wrong forever. But I think he also first appeared in issue 3 as just himself. He wasn't yet Blue Beetle, but just something else to keep in mind. But this is the book that's selling. And probably the biggest news of this week, if you want to really call it that news, is that Spider-Man. Miles Morales Spider-Man 7 had that secret cover, so spoiling it here. You've probably seen it everywhere already. But this is the cover introducing Spider-Boy, where they're retconning in Spider-Boy, similar to what they did with Sentry. Like, oh, everybody forgot him. It's because that whole spider totem thing, we're getting stabbed with that spider dagger, and then there's a talisman that brings people back. We're stabbed with that dagger because the dagger erased you from reality, and this talisman brings you back. So apparently, Spider-Boy was stabbed with that dagger, and he got brought back into this reality, and nobody remembers him, from Miles to Peter, but he's been around as the sidekick, Spider-Boy. 150 plus sales just since yesterday. This released yesterday. This is from since yesterday. 150 of these have sold, and it has sold for silly amounts. Don't get FOMO on this, guys. Come on. $30 to $35 are the recent sales. This thing has jumped. Immediate was like 25. It's been selling. Look at how many copies are moving. Doesn't mean this is going to be impossible to find, hard to find. It doesn't mean this character is going to stick around. I'll talk a bit more about this on Dollar Bin Digging, but this was the most selling book, I guess, for this week. So something to keep an eye on. So once again, thank you to all of our members here. Appreciate the support. I appreciate the support of everybody who just subscribes to the channel. If you're not subscribed, I suggest you make sure you hit that sub button. And if you want, consider joining with the membership, but no pressure. We are going to be doing giveaways for the 2,500 subscriber achievement that I've reached just this past week. So make sure you come back for the tax show next Wednesday, as we'll be giving away some prize packs live, as well as how to get one of the other packs that you can't get on the live show. So make sure you come back next Wednesday for the live show at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And with that all said, check out the other content here. I'll have Dollar Bin Digging hopefully later tonight. Friday, we'll have Mail Call Madness, where the Jedi and Dom will be doing their live show tomorrow at 9. Saturday Night Special live on Saturday. Even on Easter, we're going to be doing the Star Wars show, so come drop in. Don't know how long the show will be on Easter, but we will be doing Tales from the Dark Side on Sunday. And then next week, on Monday, start the whole process over again with the watch list, hidden gems, chasing ghosts, etc. So with that all said, still having a blast doing all this. Hopefully you're enjoying it as well, and I'll see you guys later with some more content. All right, bye.